Hello, welcome to Settled on the Field. Liz and Bill, how pumped are you about this show?
We've been looking forward to this one for a while.
Yeah, I'm very excited to have Bryan on. Can't wait.
Let me take a moment here to introduce Mr. Bryan Neale. This guy is legit. Bryan's the founder of Blind Zebra, where he created the Blind Zebra sales operating system, dubbed the BZSOS. He's been podcasting since 2006. His advanced selling podcast with Bill Caskey is on the verge of episode 800 coming up.
Ouch.
He plays the
awesome.
piano daily and likes to celebrate his birthday all week long. He just mentioned his son's about to have a birthday, so they're in their week-long celebration for him. On top of all that, he's a father, a husband, a big-time employer, and he is also a full-time NFL official. He works out of the umpire position, wears jersey number 92, and ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Bryan Neale was a member of the officiating crew that worked Super Bowl 56.
Woo!
Bryan, welcome and thank you for joining us here at Settled on the Field.
Thanks for having me. This is great. It's so fun to talk to people who have so much in common, isn't it? Who have people that do business and do podcasting and, I mean, everything except for Liz's Purdue sign in the background, I'm all for. But we're a blended family in more ways than one.
Yes.
Boiler up is all I will say to that.
Blended family in more ways.
You got to
than
point
one.
that
I'm an
out.
IU
That's
guy.
good.
She's a Purdue part of the deal. And you know what? Honestly, as an IU person,
You guy here too.
now if you're listening to this in the future, Purdue just went to the national championship, so good for them. They lost, but I was cheering for Purdue. But I love what y'all are doing, and thanks for having me. I'm flattered that you had me on the show tonight.
We can't wait to have you. So I have this burning question that I've had since we found out you were coming out of the podcast. And that is, let's say there's a rule that you just really do not like. The NFL rolls out a rule and you're just not a fan. Do you give feedback and say, oh, I don't think that's going to work. That's not a great idea. Or just keep it to yourself and you just do what you got to do?
Yeah.
Or
it's
like Bill said,
it's a
do you
great
just
question.
not call it?
Or do you just not call that often?
That's absolutely 100% not an option, without question. No, that's part of the job that we signed up for. Is to it's not my league and it's not my rule book. I'll tell you that right out of the gate. It's the fans league, it's the owners league, and we have a saying in the National Football League called, you may have heard this, the protect the shield. And all that goes in. Protect the shield means all sorts of things. It means the integrity of the game, the rule book, the rules, the safety of the players, the safety of the officials. All that's part of that. And the rules are there, as in all leagues and all levels, to protect the players first and their safety, keep the game fair and equitable, and to give the fans a great, fun experience that's highly competitive. That's what they're for. In that, there's, like you all know refereeing, there's gray. Right? There's, you try to make everything black and white, crystal clear, and there's gray. The gray is what makes the thing fun. If everything is black and white, it wouldn't be any fun. And so there's always going to be gray, and in the gray is where the disagreements come. So, there are things that I would change. Yes. Do I have a voice? I actually do. At the end of every season, the league comes to us as a group and says, if you have any suggestions for rule changes, just shoot us an email. Tell us what it is. Luckily, we study a lot of the rules. May not have the whole thing memorized down to the actual number, but I could say, hey, here's a rule suggestion I have. I think we should change, whatever on a scrimmage kick. I think we should protect the center for an extra second or whatever to protect the long snapper or whatever it is. Here's my reasoning. And I just submit that in. And that gets taken as legit consideration. And then there's a very specific process for rule changes that go. You see this in the news a lot, where it goes to the competition committee, teams submit rule changes we do, then it goes to the votes, and then and it goes to the owners, and the owners vote, and that's how the rules get submitted. Once that's done, all votes are out. Then it's whatever it is what it is.
Do you feel like the officials are, your input is weighed about the same as what a random owner might think? Obviously, they get the vote, but your input, it's valued.
I have no idea. I have no idea. I only worry about, this is going to sound super cliche and like a very corporate answer, but I worry about like my side of the fence, what I can control. And that's all I can do. If I have an opinion and someone asks for it and I have a mechanism to give it, I'll give it. And then that's where it stops. And if someone wants to, take my idea and wad it up and throw it in the trash, then they do. If they want to listen to it and put it into the rule book and read it in, then they do. There was actually a change that I suggested a couple of years ago that actually made it to the rule book. But I'm like, there you go. Like, actually, I came up with that in a meeting. I brought this idea to the group, and I'm like, hey, they actually listened to a suggestion that I had. So, and sometimes they don't. So don't really worry about that part of it.
That's great though. When they took one of your suggestions, I mean that might be enough for a whole career. So that's awesome. So how do you use your NFL referee umpire experience to help you with your blind zebra sales program? How did the two bounce back and forth?
Yeah, it's great. But it's funny. I just I did a program today for a brand new client. It's actually an existing client, but they just purchased another company. So I had a whole group. So we created an operating system for sales teams, and we go and employ that sales operating system in these sales teams, and they take it and leverage it to make their sales processes more efficient and simpler, and make their sales process better. And this company purchased another company, and so this whole new sales team came in. So I did their first session today. And so what I do in the first session is I say, what does that have to do with this? What does referee in football in the National Football League have to do with selling? Here's the answer. Arguably, you could say in the National Football League, and you take the subject sport is American football. In American football, the National Football League, the people participating are the greatest in the universe at what they do. So you take the coaches and the players and the general managers and the referees, I know that's up for debate, technically are the greatest in the world at what they do, right? And it's weird to think about. I don't say that from a cocky, but it's, you kind of sit back like, yeah, that's the pinnacle. It's as good as it gets. And so I do that.
It's not really disputable.
It really isn't, but it's the thing. So then I go, okay, what do I see that take any subject, take playing the piano, take flying an airplane, take refereeing Little League, take podcasting, take anything. What are transferable skills and processes that I can put over any endeavor that can foot? And here's the answer. The one thing that every NFL person does, ref, coach, player, GM, is they all have a foundation that's really awesome and a commitment that's already really solid. And every year, every day, they are constantly looking for an edge at the edge. They want an edge at the edge. They don't scrap the whole thing. They don't change the whole thing, but they want an edge at the edge. And it's not, you heard this cliche, hey, get 1% better every day. If that was the case, I could do 1 billion push-ups. I can do 1 billion push-ups. It's not about doing another push-up every day. It's about finding a little thing that I do. I'm like, that works. And I just keep doing that thing over and over. So it's not really even about improving every day. It's about finding a mechanism that I can repeat every day. That's the trick. And then never stopping and trying to be open and learning for the next iteration of whatever that is. And it's that relentless pursuit to continue to do that and enjoy that relentless pursuit. That's the difference. And that applies to selling, that applies to podcasting, and applies to football.
Fantastic.
We just talked with Andy Reese, the Chicago Bears mental performance coach, and he compared the NFL players to Green Berets. He's like, they are the top of the top. And, I would say the same about the officials and the coaches as well, man. It's a daily grind, but those guys are the best of the best.
It is. It's a grind for sure. It's a mental, emotional grind for everyone in the game, for sure.
So, Bryan, I do a rule of the day segment. And since we obviously have a Super Bowl official here in the umpire position, you have an unusual rule you can give us a tip on?
I would love, can I quiz you all? Is that possible?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, let's do it.
Love that.
I might fail, but yes.
Okay. Here it is. Okay. How is it ever possible that the defense can score 1 point on a play in football? How can the defense ever score 1 point on a play in football?
Intercept the extra point. They'd block the extra point, grab it, and run down and score.
That's
That's
close.
2
but not
points,
quite.
isn't it?
It's a 2-point touchdown. You're right there, Liz. So you're in the, I'll give you a hint, Liz. You're in the right play. It's only on an extra point, only in a try. We call that a try, actually. It's in the little book try. Bill, you get 2 points for a touchdown.
Man, that's awesome. Good question. What if it's a kicked like a field goal or an extra point? It's an extra point, but they miss and you catch it and run it back. Like
It crosses the line of scrimmage.
Right. It happened one time that I know of with the Bears.
On a try, so a try play, that would be an extra point. You get 2 points for a touchdown. You get 1 point for a safety. So if the offense is trying to score and they run 98 yards backwards,
they lose 97 yards.
They go all the way backwards and there's a big scramble and they get like screw it and they just throw the ball back out of their end zone. The defense gets 1 point. Weird, isn't it? It could happen. That's a 1 point safety on a try, and it can happen.
Wow.
You asked, Jeb. You asked.
That's amazing.
Right?
That's cool. I like that.
That is wonderful.
That's a good one.
That is a weird
one. That would definitely lead to a scoregami.
That would be one to impress your friends at the party for sure.
You lose 2-1.
So going on to kind of the meat and potatoes of what we want to ask you about with as far as officiating go, we have such an epidemic of terrible sports parents treating officials and coaches in the youth level treating officials with disrespect. And, do you have any kind of words of wisdom to our officials and maybe even a thought on how we can improve our, youth sports realm to help eliminate some of this terribleness
and help us get more referees, because that seems to be part of the problem, right?
It's a huge problem. It's so multi-layered. What Liz, the core problem over time, what's going to me, the problem is going to cause eventually youth sports to start to deteriorate away where we can't have them anymore. And that's already occurring, I'm sure, in all your areas wherever you live. It's happening in my area. My stepson's lacrosse tournaments are getting canceled because there are no refs. The only reason it's getting canceled is because there's no refs. And that's just going to keep trickling down. As you know, we have now varsity football being played in some states Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday, not for fun or TV ratings, but because there's not enough refs. And that's just going to keep getting worse and falling off. The cause to me is multi-layered. The first cause, I believe, is the parent behavior at youth sports, coupled then with the younger generation of people that want to try officiating. Then they try it. Let's take my sons, for example, who are Gen Zs, who have a whole lot of other better stuff to do, who have grown up in a pretty financially privileged mechanism, not just because they're my kids, but this generation hasn't really wanted for much, I'd say. And then they've got also, minimum wages up. They could go other jobs. They can make $20, $21 an hour working at Starbucks. And they go out and get their butt chewed, by some 38-year-old mom or dad for an hour. Like, I don't need this, even if it's $30 for the game, I'll go work at Starbucks for $22 a game and make lattes, for the moms and the dads coming through in minivans. Yeah. It's a better deal. So that to me is the root cause. They've got way, way more options. And so people don't realize they're causing their own problems. And I just watch it and I see it. My kids know that they make any signal to an official. I will walk out of the stands, grab them by the shoulder pads on a Friday night varsity game. I don't care if they're the captain, the starter, and walk them off the field. They know better. They always, always, always are respectful. They always talk to the refs. They know the deal, and they know how to hold and get away with it. So I've taught them that too. Right. So,
keep it inside.
Exactly. Right. A little tart. And so, but we have so many, and we have these little things first that we have kids that have learned this from their parents and TV. They kind of do the ref, they hold the hands up. What are you going to, that is unacceptable to me for any kid to do at all, ever. And no one corrects that. That bothers me. Then you go to the parents on the sidelines. Now you have all of these like less like school is one thing. That's but the problem is also we've gotten away from the school sport because you have some control in a school environment because it's school. You got a principal, I can discipline a kid because they're at a school function. I have more discipline. When I start to go to travel ball, travel volleyball, travel soccer, travel lacrosse, 7-on-7 football, AAU hoops, I have no control. None. It's free market. Free. So any parent can say anything. There's nothing I can do other than kick them out of the league and they just go on to the next league. So there's zero risk for fans to go off on the refs. And that's just a problem. So one, the messaging is just that. The fix for me, Liz, I want to just keep them out. I'd rather them just like we've got technology. Let's do closed circuit TV. Let's have them play in a separate gym. Yeah. We'll pipe the noise in for them. I'll pipe the noise so they can hear that, hear some just like we did this at COVID in the NFL. We piped crowd noise in, 70 decibels. It sounded like a crowd was there. It's just generic, good cheering crowd
I think
noise.
if those are the two options, if those are the two options, go back to COVID, no fans, or fans realizing they need to like pipe down a notch, I think they might start to realize that's enough.
Yes.
Yeah, I would say so.
I would love to have, and I've got all sorts of and again, technology and money are always restrictions here, but I would love to have stand cams everywhere. We have cameras for, I love in all these, we have cameras on all that people can purchase. We should have stand cams so parents can go back and watch themselves after these events and play it back for their kids.
Yeah.
And so I can say, hey, I want you to watch mom and dad here and this play at the plate when when you got called for your third strike. I want you to watch mom and dad here talking to the umpires here. I think they should watch themselves back. Stand cams, I think, will be a really good idea for people.
Brian, I'm a middle school athletic director here, and one thing I tell my parents, hey, if you want to yell at them, that's not a good idea because then you're going to become the official because we're not going to have officials and we're going to make the parents do it. And then when I'm standing in the gym watching a basketball game and the parents are just getting unruly, I just pull my phone out and act like I'm videoing them. I'm not really videoing them, but I hold it up like I am just so they know, hey, this is going to be a repercussion here. So good I really like the fan cam idea.
So, yeah, because people change their way real quick.
It was a great idea.
All of a sudden they're on video. Well, some do, some don't. You all know.
That's actually a good idea. They should have anonymous parents in the stands that film film the people getting wild and crazy.
Yes. Do you know who Brenda Hilton is? Who started? She has a firm called Officially Human. She works at the Big Ten office, but Officially Human. Her take, which is really good, is to help humanize officiating, because it gets way more difficult to stay angry at someone when you just know them by the black and white striped shirt. So another thing, Jeb, to your point, how can I do this? I would love to have official intros before the game to the fans. This sounds real weird, I know, but I think about these things. So let's say I'm at Jeb's high school basketball game or junior high basketball game. So we're doing player and announcements. And we say, okay, we're going to take a moment of silence. We're going to meet the referees. So we're first going to meet Brian. Brian, hop on here. And I say, hi, my name is Bryan Neale. So I've got 3 kids. I work as a banker during the day. I did this because I love refereeing. I'm also doing this to try to stay in shape. I always try to do my best, and I love learning, and I know I'm going to miss some calls tonight, and so I appreciate your support. Okay, and you know what I mean? All of a sudden, I'm this
That's
person.
A great idea.
And if I just do that, the crowd's like, okay, you know what? There's a person there, not just some person, not just some striped person. So things like that humanize us that I think really tone down some of those things that we need to think creatively about, in my opinion.
That is a fantastic idea. I love it. Brenda?
It's down. So Brian, we started a little 501c3 called Vets to Refs. So we're going to help out veterans and first responders that want to become sports officials. Anybody that wants to do it, we're going to pay for their entry fees, their association fees. So any first responders, veterans, their family, we're here to help them. And then we also the existing veterans and first responders, if they wanted to move on to the next level and, maybe attend a camp or something, we're going to try and figure out ways to offer scholarships to various camps in different sports, any sport. My son plays lacrosse too. We just had a game Sunday. We had to wait an extra half hour for the refs to come from another game. So the coach came over to me and said, "Hey, our vets to refs needs to get here." And I said, "I'll jump out there right now. I'm not licensed in lacrosse, but I would have done it." But so that's our little public service announcement about vets to refs. So we are super excited about trying to get as many first-year officials into the game.
Yeah, I'll just add
Fantastic.
that we're just starting the outreach towards the veterans and the first responders. And if anyone's hearing this, check us out at vetstoRefs.com. Get a hold of us.
Awesome.
We'd love to hear next about your history and how you made it to the NFL. I mean, I know you were a high school official and you guys would leave Friday night after the game and go do college games. So just a huge story behind your career.
Yeah, I would love to tell you that. And that's it's funny. One thing I love about talking about our stories, you think about the players. I think about Jordan Mailata, who's the left tackle for the Philadelphia Eagles, just signed a really big contract, and he's an international player. I think he's from Australia. He's 6'10", 6'9", 365 pounds, really fast, really great human being. He has something that I don't have. I'm assuming maybe the three of you don't have. That was God-given, this genetic that, gives him size and speed and ability to do something. Officiating, you don't really need anything. You really don't. It's like, anyone can do this thing, which is really cool. And so when it came time for me to stop playing football, I was very average size, really slow. If you talk to my old football coach, had really funny ways to say things. He had like these, I call them joke grenades. Like he'd say a joke and they're like, what? And then it would go off. Like, oh, he used to say, he called me Curly because my last name is Neale, and Curly Neale was a basketball player for the Harlem Globetrotters. He'd say, Curly, you could run all day in a shoebox. And I'd be like, what? What is he talking about? Oh, okay. I got you. They'd be like, Christmas morning gets here quicker than you do, Curly. And it's like, what is it? Christmas morning gets here quicker. Like, oh, okay, coach. So I had no chance to play college football. My coaches were my mentors. Whole deep story about my relationship with my dad for another day. I just wasn't close with him. My coaches were my father figures. They taught me to write goals down. When it was time to stop playing, I didn't want football to end because I had this emotional connection to it. I went to them, and one of them gave me the idea to get my referee's license. And so I took the test, like all of us do. We take a test to get our license. I love this part. You all know this. The test, this was back in the 80s. There's no computers back then. You sent away for rule books, then you signed up to go take a test. You had 2 hours to take the test. It was 100 questions, true, false, open book. I got an 83 out of 100. 83. I tell people, if you want to know what's wrong with officiating, that's the problem, right? Like, it's passing, though. I got my license. I only needed 80. Like, ta-da.
80%.
Man, I love it. So that's it, right? So I got my license. I went to college at Indiana University in Bloomington, Indiana, and went out, worked my first football game, Bloomington South High School JV game. Had no idea what I was doing. I was barely older than the players, barely. And I just got done playing. I was running around like a player. I was played linebacker. So I'm like, ready to tackle the guy. I was like, reading the keys and stuff. But I didn't throw a flag, didn't blow my whistle, didn't make a signal. None of those things. Just ran around. Didn't know what I was doing. Got in the car afterwards. I'm like, God, that was awesome. And these guys I worked with, like, that dude sucked. Like, he didn't do it. He didn't know what he was doing. But I, started working.
Brian, I've also worked a JV football game at Bloomington South while I was at IU.
Oh, nice. Serious? Let's go. That's awesome. So then I ended up working, like you do every level at that year. I worked all the lower level, all the 7th, 8th grades. Then after that season, I took a note card out and I wrote down my coaches we were forced to do this in high school, wrote down goals with dates to them. My coaches made us do that. So I wrote down when I was 19 years old, I wanted to referee the state championship by age 31, the Big Ten by age 36. I just started adding 5 years at this point. Big Ten by 36, NFL by 41, Super Bowl by 51. And I had no idea how any of that stuff happened. I just was in love with this thing. And I just started to work and I just did everything I could. And then this stuff just started to fall into place. I'd work any game, anytime. I always had a uniform in my car. You called me, I'd go work it. I was in sales, so I had a flexible schedule. Luckily I got in the Big Ten right at age 36. I got in the NFL at 44,
Nice.
a little bit late, and then I got the call to ref the Super Bowl at age 52, and the goal was 51. So it's just been an awesome,
Wow.
not a straight line, but a really nice climb.
Congrats.
Thank you.
Awesome.
Really, really cool thing. And it took me, and keep in
I'm
mind too that
curious.
people it took me 27 years from that first game at Bloomington South until that phone call to get in the NFL. People forget that 27 years of working all the way to that level. People these days, that's another thing. People want to be in a hurry to work the big game, don't they? They want to get their license and work the Super
Yeah,
Bowl. I want
for
to
sure.
get my license and work the state championship, my license and work in the Big Ten. And there's no substitute for snaps or reps on the court or whatever your sport you're doing. Patience is such a good thing these days. So go ahead, Liz.
How do they choose the ref for the Super Bowl? Is there some method to that? Or do you know what the method is?
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, yes, there's a method. Like anything else, we obviously the scrutiny and the evaluation and the way that we're graded is extremely there's no hiding, put it that way, right? And you get graded, and nothing's perfect. There's some subjectivity to it, so they make it as objective as they can, and then you get graded. You get graded by another human, and I could show all of you the same play, and you would say, "Yeah, that's a hold," or when I show you another play, and like two of you would go, "No, that's not a hold," and one of you, "Yeah," or a foul in basketball, or a double hit in a volleyball game. It doesn't matter. We'd all have opinions, right? And so you get graded. The other thing you remember in the NFL, everyone's really, really, really good. So the delta by position at the number one spot, the number one person in each position, and the number 17 person in each position could be 0.002. One call separates the first person from the eighth person. One call out of 10,000 plays. And so so many things have to happen. Truth be told, the ball's got to go your way that year. It just does. You just have to have one of those years where the stuff just goes your way, and you have to have worked hard and made good decisions. And that's really what happened. The year that I got it, that my number came up. I worked hard, made some good decisions, and you got to show the intangibles that we all know. You got to be coachable, stay physically fit. Bill, I know it's part of your thing. The rule book knowledge. Show that if you get coached, that you're implementing the coaching that you're getting. That's one of my really good traits. If people coach me, I'm like, okay. But I also don't sell my soul on it either. I don't just like take all of the coaching, just like whatever you say and blow in the wind. I still have my own kind of core. And so that's the answer, Liz, how they come up with the Super Bowl crew. We get put into these tiers, and the tiers are eligible for a specific level of playoffs. So a tier 1 or tier 2 person, kind of thing can be eligible for the playoffs. Then there's some, if let's say there's a couple people in tier 1 eligible for the Super Bowl. Let's say it's me and another person in my spot. That person's worked it 4 times and I've never worked it. It's sort of my turn then, which makes sense too, and everyone's for that,
Yeah.
I've already worked it and I had a good year. My buddy had a good year and he hasn't had it or she hasn't had it. I want her to get it, we have good culture that way. So
that is amazing. Yeah, you had a really, really good year that year, and it's gonna come back to you. We can feel it.
always.
So tell us about the headsets in the NFL and the way that you all are now communicating now that you're wearing the headsets, and what has changed.
It's a great question.
For you.
This is like any technology. It's so funny, isn't it? How you just go back in your own life. When cell phones came out, like I don't need one of those things. Those are for kids. I don't need a cell phone. I don't want people knowing where I am all the time. Then you got one. Then all of a sudden, texting came out. I don't need to be that texting. That's for kids. Then Facebook came out. That's for kids. Now the average age on Facebook is 71. You know what I mean? And then we keep it down. So it's the same thing with this technology. When it first came out, like we've been refereeing football for 80 years without headsets. We don't need these headsets. Now, if I don't have my headset on, I'm completely naked. I don't know what's going on. I feel like something's wrong. Like I don't have, my hat or my flag. And what it does, all it does is allows us to be better communicators. It's just a more efficient tool to be a better communicator. And as you all know, it's cliche, but it's such an important part of officiating is to be good communicators. Now there's a spectrum there. Sometimes we can over communicate. There's a concentration element because we could, there are people that sometimes can talk while the play is going on. So I'm like, I don't want you talking while the play is going on. I'm concentrating. So there's an art to it, and each crew has their own sort of art part to it. But they're very, very useful tools for efficiency. The NFL game is all about the eyeballs and the show, meaning we keep an efficient game. We land at or around 3 hours every game. And so our penalty enforcements need to be efficient, our game communication, our replays, all of the O2, we call them O2O one-to-one communication packs and our earpieces help us do all of that. Very, very efficient. They help us know what a coach is talking to somebody. In a high school game when coach is talking to your line judge, and then you got to run out and tell them what the line judge says. Well, now our guys and gals just open up the microphone. So now I can hear what the coach is saying. Sometimes I don't want to hear what the coach is saying, but I can hear what the coach is saying.
Yeah. That could definitely speed up some communications for sure. I'm going to pay attention to that this fall. No doubt about it.
Yeah, it goes.
Liz, why don't we kick it over to you for the Beyond the Bench segment?
Alrighty, so you had a few things to say about Purdue, and all I said was boiler up. And the reason I have a Purdue flag here is my son is going to go play football as a Boilermaker next year.
Yes,
he will be a freshman. And so we talk a lot about recruiting tips. I just went through this whole recruiting process with him and learned so much. And so this is what we talk about a lot on the show. And a lot of it, it relates so much to real life in general, just talking yourself up and selling yourself to coaches is a big part of it as well. So my question for you is, how did you, or what is your advice to recruits on how to sell yourself, moving as a referee from the high school level to the college level, or the college level to the NFL level? How did you go about selling yourself? Is there a known process for that, or how did that work?
It's a great question. And it's something that has evolved with the way the world has evolved a lot. I'm really glad you asked this. And congrats to your kid that's such a big deal, as I've got 3 boys that play pretty decent high school football down here in Indianapolis, Indiana. 2 of them had zero desire. The 2 of them are still the senior and junior, but the middle one had a little, was getting a little bit of love, not much, but it's really cool that he's going to Purdue. And I'll cheer for him for sure. Except in the so the best thing to say for me, and this is one of our guiding principles we teach our salespeople, is one of our guiding principles in our sales work at Blind Zebra. It's one of the things I teach on my own work is authenticity. Is you can't be someone that you're not these days. I just think people see through that stuff. And there were people, this is way worse than it was now, but there were people that were trying too hard to be someone that they're not, and someone you'd like butt kissers or whatever. But even past that, I think people were trying to impress people, not even like in a room, like in a networking meeting, but even on the field. Like there were a couple of people when I would go to camps, and they would be over officious on the field during the camp because they thought that would impress the people watching them, and it would actually blew up on them because they were calling stuff that wasn't there. You're better off if there's nothing there, don't call anything, But they thought, well, I've got to call stuff to be noticed. Yeah, and you don't, especially when it's not there. It's the worst thing you could do. And so that's one thing I'd say is people are starting to get recruited just to be your authentic self. Second thing is to be a really good, curious question asker, and a real thoughtful question asker. I think people don't prepare to ask questions of others. It's one of my big pet peeves with people is, let's say your son, what position does your son play, Liz?
Sorry, defensive back.
Oh, DB. I'm sorry. I didn't hear the B. Sorry. DB. So So here will be an example. This is coaching for your kid, by the way, unsolicited. Okay, you don't have to pay me for this. But if ever a back judge or a side judge or a field judge comes to practice and gives a little speech, I would always want a player who wants to better themselves say, "Hey, can I go ask the ref a couple questions?" And have a couple questions there to say, "Hey, so what are you looking for if I get in trail, if I get in chase mode, what are you looking for me? When am I okay? When am I not?" That kids, because it's so amazing. I do this in the NFL. I go talk to a group of rookies and I'm like, "You got any questions?" Like, nope. But the veteran guys, the all pros, they'll peg me for questions for days because they want the edge.
They'll seek you out.
Well, totally. Yeah. They want the edge at the edge. And so I think anyone wants to go somewhere thinks of like thoughtful questions to ask, and they're curious because they want the edge at the edge. I think that's another thing. And then the last thing, I'm a huge Gary Vaynerchuk fan. I paid money to go spend a whole day with him and his team a few years ago. And he talks about this all the time. I'm a huge fan just of the word patience. If you're moving up in anything, getting there too fast is a really bad idea. I am so happy and proud that it took me 27 years for me to reach my dream. And there are people that blew right by me. Friends of mine that blew right by me. And when they did, I was upset, pissed, everything. I was happy for them, kind of. I mean, they were friends. But I was hurt. I'm like, dang it, why them, not me? But man, I'm glad it took me as long as it did because it gave me the practice and the snaps to be ready. So when it did happen, I could go playoff game, I was ready. It was ready.
I love that. I love that message.
Yeah. And no one, I never did. After I got in March 22nd at 11:48 a.m. when I got the call, 2014, not that I remember, 11:48 a.m. 2014, March 22nd. That's what called me. Exactly the moment. After that moment, I've never once gone, man, I wish they would have called me sooner. Never one time has that thought ever crossed my mind. Never once have I thought, dang it, I wish they would have called me in 2012. Never once. Never once have I looked back, ever. So to have patience and let the process go. Yes. For the players too. Your son's going to go to Purdue. All he wants to do is start. That's all they all want to do is start. And he doesn't want to start too soon. He does not want to start too soon. It will happen. Think about Terry McLaren, who's a remander. Yeah.
It's such a good message, the questions, because so I interview people at work all the time, and I can't tell you how many people don't have questions, and I'm like, you're out.
Right.
I will not hire you if you don't have a question.
No.
You have one question?
Exactly. Not one. No, I think I'm good. Like, huh?
That's unreal to me.
Yes.
Yeah. You don't know everything about this, I promise you, in 1 hour or 2 hours of interviewing. Yeah. So, absolutely great message. Now, I'm also really curious. I went to the Michigan Purdue Big Ten Championship like 2 years ago, and I just remember thinking, they are moving so fast. It was because I had been going to high school games every single Friday, and then I went to this game and I was like, whoa, I can't even imagine how fast this is. So do you see a big difference between, say, the Big Ten and NFL? Is it even that much faster?
Yeah. So when I was in the Big Ten, I was there for 8 years. I think I'm staring at my coin. I'm in my office. I got all these coins and footballs. I think I had in 8 years in the Big Ten, I think I had 7 bowl games and a Big Ten championship game. And one of them was the national championship game. So I was Big Ten championship game and the national championship. So point is, I was working high level college football, right? And I was thinking, not in a cocky way, but I'm thinking, this is pretty good football, And I'm thinking, all these NFL guys would come back and go, it's different, man. And I'm like, oh, okay, yeah. And then I'd go, really? Is it? And I'm like, is it that different? I got these NFL fields preseason. I was like, dang. This is different. Preseason. Okay. Then the starters come along week 1. I'm like, oh my God, this is different. They're not even going yet. Then you go to week 4 and you're like, what is this? This isn't even football. Wow. This is a totally. Now, here's what the difference is, though. It's actually not the size and speed. The main difference, NFL, especially once you get past week 4 and into the playoffs, is precision. And I'm talking like precision, like you can't even fathom with everything. Steps down to the half of an inch at full speed, throws that go a half a centimeter over a linebacker's finger on purpose. It's just like it blows your mind how precise these players are. And then everything. And then the fouls come precise. So the linemen know how to grab a hold of someone and hold on right before it turns into holding and let go. Right before I'm like, oh, he's going to let go. I mean, the timing is the
Wow.
ineligibles downfield. They have a clock in their head. And you swear, I'm like, 73 he was 6 yards downfield when they threw the pass. That's what I would say on the field. I swear that guy was 6 yards downfield. Go watch the film. Nope. Literally, his foot is right at the line of scrimmage. And then the next thing you know, in the millisecond, he's 6 yards. It's mind-blowing how
Muscle
precise
memory.
Mind-blowing. Yeah. They practice over and over and over and over. That's the difference in precision.
Wow. You're giving me chills. That was cool.
Yeah, that's really cool.
What it is.
So that was great. We'll send it on over to Bill for our Walk On Warriors.
All right, Bryan, you've already alluded to the first question, so this is a little bit of a softball, but as you're on the road, a Big Ten, NFL referee, how do you stay physically fit with all the travel? What is maybe a
thing?
A tip?
It's a thing. It's been a lifelong. Honestly, this has been my thing. It's been it's my thing. Like, not my thing. Like, I'm great at this. This has been my thing that this has been one of my demons I've carried with me my whole life. My whole life I've carried this demon, and I've been the guy who's up and down and try this and that and keep, and I'm doing okay, but I'm doing okay. I'm not like, I got it, And so the one tip I have for myself is never stop trying. I got to keep trying. You know what I mean? So I know people, you haven't figured it. You got to figure out the thing. I'm like, well, I haven't yet. So I'm going to keep trying. And I'm still trying, you know what I mean? So whether it's low carb and that sort of thing. The other thing, now here's the one thing, and God bless him, man. We have this orthopedic doctor. It's the guy for the National Football League. And this was as soon as I got in the league, he said, what do you do to stay in shape? I'm like, I run. So where do you run? I'm like, when Indianapolis, this Monon Trail, it's a paved trail. It's paved. It's paved. I'm like, yeah. He goes, do not get in a shoebox. Good job, Liz. That's awesome. Good callback. Don't run
hey, the Monon Trail's got cars on it now too.
Yeah, right. Good point. He said, don't run on concrete. Don't run on asphalt. You can run on beach or grass, but don't run. I'm like, that's the best way I know to stay in shape. Well, now what? You know what I mean? Here it comes. Like the knees cracking a little bit, making some noise. It's like, And so you got to listen to your body, and you got to recognize when you're 54 that stuff starts to change, and you have to learn to adapt. And muscle, yoga, walking is okay. And so I'm in that mode now where I'm like, you know what? Walking is a very healthy thing to do. Where it used to be, I'm like, that's kind of the soft exercise. Walking soft. Well, it's not. If you look at all the research and data, walking is an awesome exercise, I think. Right?
I'd say walking's my main thing right now, especially mix that in with a little nature walk, and you get a little benefits of both ends, physical and mental.
And then I started working on just from my own personal, just free body weight. There's jumping up and saying I can do 10 push-ups at a pop whenever I feel like it, and just doing 10 push-ups at a pop, 4, 5, 6, 8 times a day, 7 days a week. That's going to add up over time a little bit. So that's kind of the mode I'm in right now versus like banging weights around and stuff like that, and just trying to do some body weight and yoga type stuff. So
yeah, that's perfect. Perfect answer. You got to know your body, and you can adapt as long as you get something in. That's better than nothing.
Yeah.
So the second question I have for you is on the maybe the mental side. Big play come in, or it's a bigger game. Maybe it's a playoff, something like that. How do you either recommend, or how do you handle the pressure, whether it's perceived or actual pressure on a play? Like maybe it's just perceived from the outside, or you're perceiving it. Like, how do you handle that? Like, and then especially if you're really feeling it, it's like, okay, well, that was one play. How do I get ready for the next play?
That's good. So my first Ohio State Michigan game, I was scared to death. It was my second year in the Big Ten. We're at Michigan, and this is like dream come true, football mecca for a football purist like me from the state of Indiana, just in the Big Ten country. And I was working with this good friend of mine who had been in the Big Ten for a while. He was one of the best officials I've ever been around. And he looked at me and he could tell I was scared to death. He goes, nervous? And I'm like, I'm terrified. He goes, just remember, there's 6.9 billion people on the planet that don't give a shit about this game. And I'm like, that's a good point. That's a really good point, actually. You know what I mean? I'm like, it kind of like, I got chills just saying that, because he instantly, like, that's the truth. Like, the rest of the world doesn't even know this thing is happening. You know what I mean? It was this perspective switch. I'm like, man, that's such a good, it was such the right thing to say to me at that time, which I thought was really, really good. And I had a couple other veterans. I know my first big bowl game was a Cotton Bowl, and there's a veteran guy came up to me, and I was scared to death. The head referee was scared to death. It was our first big game. It was Nebraska-Auburn. And he came up, and he could tell we were wound up. And first TV timeout, and he cracks this, like, stupid joke to us. And I'm like, what is he talking about? And I'm like, he knew that we were wound up, and he was trying to get us to relax. And so that has taught me, like, this perspective. Like, they weren't playful. They were just a momentary, like, reset. And so that's the one thing I keep to remember, the perspective. And the perspective then allows me then focus. So now I'm good. Now, once I know that this isn't the only thing in the world's not going to end no matter what. My kids are going to be fine. My wife, my health, everything's going to be okay. So once I'm clean on all the other stuff, and I know this isn't the only thing in the earth, now all I got to do is do my job now. And it's really easy. So that's how I help. That's how I tune back in. And I don't know why. I'm just wired this way. My pulse goes down when the pressure goes up. I don't know why I'm wired that way. I struggle when the game's a blowout. I lose when the game's 42-6.
Lose that focus.
Oh my God. I'm like, somebody, like, do something to make me pay attention. Yeah, but when it's fourth quarter,
that's not just for referees. That's coaches. That's the players too. It gets a little rough.
Yeah, right.
That's like any team meeting where going off the rails.
Right. Yes.
You mentioned transferable skills earlier, and I just wanted to bring that back up as we talked a little bit about vets to refs, and veterans are in the transition space. They have a difficult time elaborating and focusing on themselves versus the team, and then explaining their transferable skills that they learned in the military and all that. Like, could you, I don't know, just throwing this out there, what do you think some might be for them to take on being a sports official, either at the little league or high school level, or even just saying, I'm going to write on the card, I'm going to officiate high school, and then I'm going to be in the NFL?
Yeah, I mean, I would never in a million years, but I'd never been in the military and service business or any of those types of roles in my life, and I have so much respect for that. I mean, the first thing is that there's one thing I've noticed about people who have been in military or any endeavor like that has been process orientation. There's a process for everything that to do that works really well, and that works in sports officiating, and it's a very good skill to keep in mind.
Works in sales too.
Yeah, it does, doesn't it? It's just there's all processes, and I probably do 17 things between sitting the ball down and before the next snap, and it's always the same. And it's so rote in my mind, it allows me to do the 10% that's the art, that's figuring out what is a hold and what isn't. It's all those things. That's what allows me to relax when the pressure's up, because I know all these little bitty process things are systematic, that are good. I think there's an element of trusting others that I think, if I'm talking about, people that have been in a military situation or a veteran, that there's required that we've got this group of people that are doing this thing, and everybody has to trust that everybody's doing their job. And I think that is a very transferable skill. The ability to trust another human to do their job is a really, really good thing to do. I think.
Well, yeah, I really appreciate that, especially from we've all been on the team before, and working together is one of the things we should realize is a transferable skill.
Yeah. And then the
So,
other thing that I
Bryan,
think,
we got a couple
Joe,
more questions here for you. One's selfish on our end. With your experience as a podcaster,
yeah,
you got two really good podcasts going. You're about to hit your 800th episode. That's just absolutely amazing. So we were just wondering, any tips for the new podcasting crew at Settled on the Field?
you're doing so. You hit step one, which is just start. Most people fail that's one of my keynote speeches. It's called First Domino. Most people fail at first domino. They don't start. So kudos to you for starting. And I make people, when I go do the keynote speeches, I actually do this from the stage. I will buy someone's equipment from this. I'll buy it. I go, give me your address, your Amazon. It's $80. I mean, you can get great equipment for $80. So you pass that. Next is 20 episodes. You got to plow past 20 episodes. Are you past that?
Guess what?
Bryan, you are
You
episode
are
number
20.
20, my man.
Shut up. I'm not.
No doubt.
Yes,
Serious?
you are.
I'm not kidding.
You got to go past it. So past 20 episodes is the next thing. Yes. Then what you have to do, my opinion, where people start to fall off is they don't hold their recording space sacred. So what starts to happen, I get it. We got kids in life, like, oh, Bill can't record. Oh, Jeb's got this thing. Oh, let's try to catch up. And then, we canceled that. And then the recording space isn't sacred. Then you don't record. Then you lose momentum, and then it fizzles. So Bill Caskey and I have recorded the podcast every Monday, every other Monday from 9 to 11 for 17 years, give or take. I mean, there's time or two here and there.
That's awesome. I mean,
we are religious with that. And that's how we get to 800 episodes. That's why it's worked. And we've never promoted the thing. We've never spent one penny on SEO or anything. And if you Google best sales podcast, we're on every list known to man. And in every list.
Nice.
It's not because we're good. It's because we've been doing it so damn long. And because we just keep doing it. So that's the trick. Just do not stop. Please do not stop. And don't worry about if it goes anywhere. That's not what it's about.
Yeah.
This should be fun. Yeah. You know, if you knew how many hours Bill and I spent and haven't made a freaking dime, I mean, for 17 years, we just started making money on the thing like 3 years ago. It's like stupid how much time we spent just for fun. So that's my advice to you.
That's patience. That's patience, authenticity, and consistency right there. That's amazing.
Yeah, 100%. Yes.
Well, we get to meet awesome people like you, and we learn a lot on all of our podcasts. So we appreciate that so much. So thanks so much. So we do have one question that we ask all of our guests.
Ready.
What was your, this could be hard for you, I'm thinking. What was your favorite sporting event that you have ever been to as a fan or as a referee?
Okay. I'm going to, oh gosh. So I'm going to give you a two-headed answer. All right.
I'll take it.
Yeah. So the easiest sporting event I've ever been to was the Super Bowl, but not because I was working the Super Bowl. It was because I've got 4 kids that are my blood kids, and they aren't very emotive. They're, you know, even I know high school kids aren't emotive, but my kids are like, they're great kids, are pretty chill. Me and my ex-wife are pretty chill people, whereas, you know, and I walked down that stadium and they are jumping up and down, hands up like this.
Loving it.
And I took my hat off and I started just above like I was going, and I'm like, I mean, it was just like the greatest thing ever to see them doing that. Was really cool. And then
that's cool.
All my kids played high school sports, and I got to see my daughter, her volleyball team. She got put into their volleyball Hall of Fame as a senior.
Awesome.
And then my sons played. My oldest son won 2 state championships at football, which was great. And then doubly cool was both. This is where it gets extra cool for me. My junior and senior son last year started next to each other on the offensive line. That's the coolest thing. And it's a pretty big
cool.
football school here. And to see two of your boys, it's hard to find the field at our high school at all. And to have two of your sons starting next to each other and just to watch them play as teammates and brothers and help each other up and tap each other on the head, even though they don't like each other sometimes, was just
that's super
really freaking cool. Really cool. So great question.
Yes. Great answer.
Well, Bryan, we really can't thank you enough, man. Your time tonight, and you're a really exciting guy to talk to. Big things coming from you at the Blind Zebra and on the Sundays in the NFL, and everything on the home front. Congratulations to that.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely.
Keep doing what you're doing. Episode 21 right around the corner.
Oh. Episode 21's coming up, but I wanted to say, you got Blind Zebra, which is B and a Z, and in the Navy, that's a Bravo Zulu, so it also means a job well done. So thanks for being with us.
I have a really good friend from the Navy he goes, do you know what Bravo Zulu means? I'm like, no. He goes, he said it kind of, he was a bigwig, and he's kind of scared me. He goes, it's a job well done. I'm like, I had no idea. That's a dumb one.
The job well done.
He said it kind of like that.
Keep dominating, Bryan.
You might have to add that into your logo somehow.
I might have to, for sure.
Anyways, thanks so much. Don't talk about it.
You guys are awesome. Appreciate you.
Peace.